go around the NBA. There are 30 teams, so we're going to talk about all 30 teams. Who is injured, who is available, who is lying. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I've got haters and I've got fans and I've got stands in the stands. And I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Blue Sky, joshlloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com and find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. That is LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up, newsletter free every day of the week, 5 days a week, into your inbox. We are talking injuries. Let's go through them as best we can, remembering that this is a fluid situation where injuries are going to be updated every hour, on the hour, every day. So I'll give you what I know now, and we just keep rolling with stuff as it changes. That's how this stuff works. It is Medjool Date Day with the best type of date, very clearly. I don't know what other dates you guys are eating, but if you're not eating a Medjool, then you're not eating a date. It sounds like a marketing slogan. I haven't been given any money by the big Medjool, but there you go. Didn't used to like dates. Now I'm a big date eater. That sounds rude. Let's talk about Atlanta. Clint Capela is dealing with back spasms. Sure, he is. Allegedly. He is dealing with back spasms, but also there is a large opportunity, a large possibility of him being traded. Just keep an eye on that. Bogdan Bogdanovic is not with the team because he is getting traded. It might not happen. Shout out to Tyreke Evans, but that is why he is not with the team. That's what's happening there. So we're talking trade deadline, maybe returns for both of those guys after the deadline. The other one, and I'll mention this, when someone gets ruled out for the season, the first time we do an injury show, I put them on there. That's where we're talking Jalen Johnson. He's out for the season. We knew that. With Capela out, Larry Nance is getting those backup minutes. With Johnson out, well, one game it was Barlow. One game it was Mohamed Way-Ayugé. It could be Vic Krejci. It could be anyone. But what we did see is Zachary Rivers-Shea go from like a 21-minute and I player up to like 27. That's important. Now, he's still going to have issues in terms of adding peripheral stats or being efficient. But 21 to 27 makes him at least a 14-team league guy without being a trip over yourself to get him in 12s. On the Boston Celtics, it's Peyton Pritchard who missed the last game with an illness. He might be back in the next one, and there's literally nothing else to talk about on that squad at the moment. So you know what? We won't. In Brooklyn, there are more injury situations, and there are going to be more of these things pop up as well. Noah Clowney and Cam Thomas, ankle and hamstring respectively, I expect after the All-Star break for both of these dudes. I wouldn't be holding Clowney as much as I think there is a chance of value. He's not good enough to hold through this, so you don't. Cam Thomas is a tougher one. I think Thomas is going to be in and out of the lineup post-break as well. So you've got to look at it individually. What do you do on your team? How many roster spots, IL spots do you have? Remember what we're doing. Oh yeah, it is definitely that time. Remember what we're doing at this time of the year. We are saving our moves. So don't consider, I'm going to drop Cam Thomas to stream somebody in. No. We're not doing that. What we are doing is just holding and then making the moves that are appropriate for the deadline. But Thomas could be expendable. I don't think he is, but he could be. Cam Johnson, they keep listing him questionable and ruling him out. So I facetiously said that his return date is never, because I don't think he plays for Brooklyn. I don't know why they just aren't saying he's out for the rest of the week when that's what they initially said. And now they're like, 3 days in advance, so he's questionable and then doesn't play. And then questionable and then doesn't play. So, I don't know. I just don't think he plays until after the deadline. And he's probably on a new team, would be my guess. And he loses all of his value. Not true. He loses a chunk of his value. Maxi Lewis, we're talking mid-March, I'd say. He might have some of an impact, but he's also very, very bad. So I wouldn't worry about that. And then I really don't think Bogdan Bogdanovic is playing. This team is just going to cycle through guys. Zaire Williams and Keon Johnson appear to be two of the better options. Dayron Sharp is one of them as well. We could look at Trendon Watford as a stashy, streamy guy, but I think D'Angelo Russell and Ben Simmons are going to pop on and off of this list all the way through. It's going to be messy. It's going to be hard to pin down who the guy is at each point. And I think in a lot of the cases, trying to make that guess is just going to go badly for you. And until we get some clarity, I don't know that there's a real, we've got to lock onto this guy. In Charlotte, a few guys on this list now. LaMelo Ball with the ankle issue. I do think that there is a chance he is back towards the end of the week. We have nothing to suggest otherwise, but it's the Hornets and they're bad. I do think he returns. They've called Cody Martin's injury a sports hernia, and for some reason, they're giving us no timetable on that. Now, a sports hernia injury could very easily cost him the season. This is a core muscle type of injury. We already saw the core muscles of Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner cost them plenty of time. Cody Martin has had many games out in the past for his injuries. The sports hernia is not a one-game thing. So I'll just rule Cody Martin out for this week, which is important because he was providing at least 14-team league category value. And with Ball out and Josh Okogie out, he could have played, but he can't. So Josh Green at least is a 14-team league guy. Vasilija Micic is dealing with an ankle problem. He might play in this next game, which is there today. With Ball out, he has been useful, and I would use him in that scenario. But it's not a long-term thing, I don't think. The guy we watch there is Kenneth Simpson, and I called him Kenneth Simpson because for some reason on Fantrax, now I am an equal opportunity hater of fantasy platforms. Sleeper, you can get it at any point. ESPN, lol. Yahoo, I'll give it to you guys as well. Fantrax is the best. But his name, Kenneth Simpson, if people are searching the name, they're going to type in KJ Simpson. I've never once heard this man referred to as Kenneth Simpson. If you're going to label someone Kenneth, do it to Trey Murphy then. Why aren't we searching up Rayford Young? Kenneth Simpson. Bruh. KJ Simpson. So if you are on Fantrax and you're looking, why can I not find KJ Simpson? For some reason, he is listed as Kenneth Simpson. So there you go. He would be the guy over Isaiah Wong that I would consider in that spot if Micic and Ball are both out. And Nick Smith are obviously an option too. Josh Okogie, Ping Dahami, end of February maybe. He was you know what I've said about him. He needs minutes, usage, high steals, and well above his head shooting efficiency. Those things can all happen. They just don't happen consistently enough for long enough. And now he's hurt, so you move on. Brandon Miller done for the year. We know that one. And Trey Mann, there was this one report that said he was out for the year. You know that I've told you this, well, my opinion on this. I had no inside information on this. This was me piecing together stuff. I told you back in November that I think he was cooked for the year. And nothing has changed on that. They just haven't announced it. So I'm not going to put Trey Mann or Brandon Miller on these injury reports moving forward. I believe they're done. The Chicago Bulls, obviously, they made the trade yesterday. Those guys still got to come in. Jalen Smith missed the last game with illness. I do believe that Smith over Collins is the way they will go if they trade Vooch, which they should. Now, there is an argument, and someone had this discussion with me in the comments yesterday talking about how I said that them making this trade makes it feel more like that they would trade Vooch and really lean into the tank. And he said, I don't know, that's the case. I think them doing this trade means that now they don't have to actually tank to keep that pick. They keep their pick regardless, so maybe they don't. And I understand that point of view. It's the Bulls. They're stupid. That could easily be what they do. But the fact that they traded away their best player, and yes, Vucevic is not their best player, Levine is. They traded away their best player, didn't get anything back in it. That doesn't suggest to me that they're going to keep pushing for more wins now. It is way more likely they push to lose by getting rid of your best player in a situation where, again, if you had Levine there, he would have kept winning you games. That's how good he would be. You have to have fake injured him. And in that scenario, then you could have been in a situation where you finished with the 12th pick and lost it. And now you don't have that good player. And you'll probably move off other guys. So you can push that down. So you don't push for the 14th spot. You don't win a couple of fluky play-in games and get the 16th pick. That's not likely. Now, you still might end up with you probably can't get down into the top 6 or anything like that in terms of worst records. But if you keep yourself, instead of being the 12th, you'd be the 10th or the 9th, your lottery odds rise and you could get pick 4 or you could get pick 3. Even though, again, if you had have got pick 3 before when you didn't have the pick, you would have kept the pick. But getting into a spot where the lottery odds are improved just by 4 or 5%, instead of being the 14th team, you're the 12th team or the 11th team, that helps. But honestly, who knows? Dalen Terry hurt his knee in the last game. I don't think he's going to get many minutes. Taylor Horton-Tucker hurt his leg. He questionable, don't care. I do have Torrey Craig there, but he got waived. Both he and Chris Duarte waived. The Chris Duarte experience, wild. Remember the start of his rookie season? I hated that draft pick. And then the first 10 games of his career, I always look stupid, but I looked extra stupid because I said, this is ridiculous. I wouldn't pick this. I don't think I ever had him as a first round pick. And he cooked. And he has been dreadful ever since. And now he's waived. So he and Torrey Craig are both gone. Torrey Craig can go home and cry into the ass cheeks of Megan the Stallion. Let's talk Cleveland. Who's in, who's out here? Isaac Okoro dealing with shoulder soreness, maybe the next game. Dean Wade with the knee issue. There's been no official timeline given, but I know Dean Wade's knees. Not personally, never touched them. But I do know that they're bad, and I do know that the bone bruise designation diagnosis in his knees suggests to me that is a long time out because it's Dean Wade, and he's had multiple problems. So I'm putting him out for the month. And that helps Max Strus. It helps Karis LeVert. It helps Milk Jerome. The other one there is Craig Porter Jr., who is dealing with an illness, but he is just not a part of the rotation. We've got more teams to talk about, and we are going to talk about them. But today's episode, of course, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Relationships, they can be tough to navigate at any point. We hear about red flags all the time, but what about positivity? What about green flags? Well, if you're not even sure what they look like, well, therapy can help you identify that thing, actively practice it, and then help everybody to embody that green flag energy. You could be dating, marriage, just a friendship, whatever it is, work relationships. Green flags, instead of always focusing on the negative, and I preach this stuff all the time, the green flags is something that you can look at and work through with therapy. Therapy provides tools for managing conflict in ways that strengthen your connections rather than break them down. And BetterHelp makes it easy by offering online therapy with over 30,000 licensed therapists to choose from. And if you need to switch therapists, you can do so at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's go to the next team after Cleveland. It is the Dallas Mavericks, and it's still very, very jarring to me to put up the Dallas Mavericks injury report, and it's Anthony Davis on there. He maybe is able to return from his abdominal issue across the weekend. The original Lakers diagnosis was at least a week. Maybe he's back then. Maybe it's All-Star. I don't know. I just don't know. Everyone that sat out for Dallas last game, Kyrie, Gafford, PJ, I'm not considering those actual injuries. They're not. They're going to play in the next one. Not worried about that at all. But they're fine. Davis is going to miss. Dwight Powell with the hip strain. I've got a couple of games out, but honestly, he's probably not going to be a part of the rotation now anyway. You got Davis and Gafford. That's all you need. And then Derek Lively, I'm talking about an April return. How they figure out the Lively, Gafford, Davis scenario. The good thing you're going to have if you've got Gafford, he is losing value. He's not a drop, but he's losing value. That you're not going to have the situation that when Lively is healthy, there is a possibility that Gafford could play 10 minutes a night if Lively is healthy. But that's not going to be a case for this fantasy season. So your league winner, Gafford, is going to be okay to a degree. You're not going to roll as a top 5, top 10, top 20, top 30. And I know they said they're going to start him, and they will. They won't close with him, though. And Davis will still play the 5, and Washington will play the 4. And it won't be a scenario where he's getting 32 minutes unencumbered. So Gafford is losing, just not losing entirely. The problem will be when Lively returns. But again, we don't have to worry about that because that is so far away from happening. In Denver, Rusty Westbrook with a hamstring. They haven't given us a time frame on that. I'm just going to put him out for the week as a hamstring strain. He's 1,000,000 years old. That is it could be way longer than that. And with him out, Christian Brown up, Jalen Pickett in deeper leagues as well. And then Peyton Watson, we got the news on his knee sprain, at least 4 weeks. That's not good. Let's make that a 6-weeker, I'm guessing. I'll put him out there till the 2nd of March. I actually think we put an extra 2 weeks under that. With him out, and with Westbrook out, it is way more for Gordon, for Porter, for Brown, who was a 27-minute-a-night bench player 4 days ago. And now 2 players are out of the way to get his minutes back up. These are the vagaries of fantasy. It annoys me because I predicted that Christian Brown would go to the bench and see his minutes cut, and it happened. And then 2 days later, he's going to go back and play 36 minutes a night for the next week, maybe month. And his value goes straight back up. Easy. With him out, though, with Watson out, do they try Zeke Nnaji? Julian Strawther will probably play a little bit more, maybe Hunter Tyson, but who defends? There's no one to really defend, and Zeke Nnaji's terrible. He did play 20 minutes last game, though, so just keep an eye on that. And then Vlatko Čančar, I don't know why we're getting no updates on that. I don't think he plays again this season, but they haven't ruled him out. Detroit, though, you can rule out injuries there. There's nobody. Yes, remember we said we don't cover the out-for-season guys, which is Jaden Ivey, unless he somehow makes a miraculous return. For the Warriors, Draymond Green is returning today, it seems, so he's off the injury report. The only guy there is the bucket himself, John Kuminga. I've got about a post-All-Star break return for Kuminga, so they're going to keep mishmashing Healds and Moody's and Paytons and Post, and how Post goes with Draymond today is going to be really interesting, by the way. But none of these guys have produced enough value. Geese sent us Al Helper to be like 12-team league options outside of like, hey, let's get desperate. Kuminga will come back, and I think will be limited at first. And we know that Kuminga needs 30+ and big usage to be a fantasy option in category leagues. And if he comes back and he's playing 25 for 2 or 3 weeks, it might not be enough. It might not. We'll have to wait and see on that. Now we'll look at the Houston Rockets. Fred VanVleet left the game with an ankle injury over the weekend. He's ruled out for Monday. They play the Nets on Tuesday, so I said that maybe he returns Tuesday. I'm not so sure about that. Alperen Şengün's missed 2 in a row with the calf issue. Steven Adams has been somewhat useful, and the Rockets have got 5 games this week. But let's also be clear, Adams is not playing all 5 games this week, and Jock Landale is also dealing with an illness, and he's doubtful for Monday. So you could have a situation where Şengün, Adams, and Landale are all out for Tuesday. Now, what I think will happen is Landale will be out Monday. Şengün will probably be out Monday and maybe play Tuesday. But they are 3 centers who, well, Adams is definitely not playing both. Şengün might, but probably not. And Landale is definitely not playing both. So just watch those ones. I don't think there's anything long-term in the Şengün injury, but we keep an eye on it. Jabari Smith, I've got for a return just after the All-Star break. I don't think that he's worth sitting on or stashing, to be honest. His value was very middling anyway. And Men Thompson won't be playing 25 minutes a night when Smith comes back. He won't be playing 40 minutes when Smith comes back, but there'll be somewhere in the middle. And somebody loses out, and Smith won't just roll in and play 32, I wouldn't think. So I don't think that he's going to be worth sitting on in that spot. Indiana, we got an injury sort of come out of nowhere today with Miles Turner. Now, when you say he's got a perineal strain, that is not a perineum. He doesn't have any sort of pulled gooch type action. It's a peroneus tendon in his foot. So it's a foot issue. He is questionable. If he is out, then yes, one of the worst centers in the NBA, Thomas Bryant, becomes useful because Thomas Bryant is one of those players who, when he plays, puts up good fantasy numbers. Shout out to Hassan Whiteside. But when he's on the court, he's actually really bad. So it's one of those ones that when there's no other option, then sure, like we take a look at this and we consider him an option, but there's no long-term value in him having that role. But if Miles Turner's gooch is not good enough, then we might see Bryant be streamable. In LA, last game, Storm and Norman Powell didn't play with a hip issue. Amir Coffey started, did absolutely nothing. I don't imagine this is anything serious for Powell. We just keep an eye on it. Chris Dunn's been out for about a week and a half with his knee. I believe that has really allowed a few more minutes for Coffey, but it's meant that Derek Jones plays 32 a night and he's on the peripheries of 12s. If Dunn returns, I'd love to see what happens with Jones because I don't think that Dunn and Jones starting together is an ideal combination. So we'll see what happens with Dunn. We're obviously not rostering Dunn. The other one there is Cam Christie, Max's brother, who's dealing with that ankle sprain and won't play. As equally jarring as it is to see Anthony Davis on the Mavericks injury list, it's worse to see Luka Doncic here. This, again, nothing about this trade makes any sense. It continues to be ridiculous, the stories about Nico Harris. Nico Harris is one of those guys that when he first got the job, I was like, what is this guy doing? You should fire him immediately. I hate every move that he's making here. What is happening? I hated it. And then he had this little resurgence part where I go, actually, that's good. That's good. And now it's just gone full circle back to like, maybe you don't know what you're doing. So I don't know what to make of that. But Doncic, maybe there's a return on Saturday for him. And then how that all fits is going to be the big question, isn't it? The Lakers still probably would like to do a move because no one likes to have Jackson Hayes as their starting center. But remember, Luka Doncic can make players better. He literally can do that. Daniel Gafford is not a good player. I'll be very clear on this. He is not a good player. He's not a terrible player, but he's not a good player. Jackson Hayes is a terrible player. So maybe he can get him from terrible to being okay-ish. And if Hayes continues to start and former Doncic teammate Christian Wood is back in the mix, they might just stay with those guys. It would be horrendous, but they might. Because maybe they just can't find who they want. So I really don't think you want to trade for Vooch or Valanciunas to have a LeBron, Doncic, Vucevic defensive combination. Hachimura, like it's so bad. Austin Reeves, they'll give up 350 a game. Irrespective. Cam Reddish missed the last game, probable, questionable, who knows. Doesn't matter. He shouldn't. Actually, you know what? He might be in the rotation because Doncic will be out and Christie's gone. But we all know we don't care about Cam Reddish for fantasy. Maxi Kleber comes across with the foot injury. Again, there are people who try to put out stuff about the NBA that don't watch the NBA because they're like, oh yeah, look at the Lakers. They'll just start Maxi Kleber at center. Oh, will they next season? Because he just broke his foot and had surgery. He's not playing in this regular season at least. Christian Wood, I just don't know. I don't know when he's coming back. I wouldn't be stashing Chris Wood. I'd just be watching it and going, what are they going to do? Could he get minutes at some point? I'll watch it. They'll also go small with Finney Smith at center too. As per usual, Memphis has a long injury list. Desmond Bane sort of hurt his ankle towards the end of yesterday's game. There was no official designation on that, but we did flag that one over at Basketball Monster. He is out today. Ja Morant missed the last 2 games. He is questionable for Monday. We know when Ja is out, we look at Kennard. Now, Kennard's value can still hold because Bane's out here as well, but I don't think either of those things are serious. But then we got Marcus Smart and Vince Williams, both upgraded to doubtful. So they won't play Monday, but very good chance they play the next game. I would not be stashing Vince Williams. I would not be stashing Marcus Smart. But what it does is it just further adds that in. So the Kennards and maybe your GGs or your Santi Aldamas, all these guys, Zach Edey's, all these peripheral players that aren't Jaren, Desmond Bane, and Ja, you just can't have them on 12-team rosters. There's going to be too many guys. It's too many players to get minutes that they can move back and forward as players ramp their injuries back up. Not enough there to happen. Cam Spencer also dealing with a thumb injury for the Grizzlies. He's a two-way guy, and I don't think we need to worry too much about that. But what we do need to worry about is today's episode being brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook and by Super Bowl 59, as my screen freezes. Super Bowl 59 is here. 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. There's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Predict the first touchdown, call who the MVP is going to be, look at the coin toss. All that stuff is easy on FanDuel. Getting in on the action has never been simpler. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and it's super easy to navigate through on the app. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, well, that's just icing on the cake. So download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5 and win it, and then you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Here's a random question of the day. Does anybody know why dollars get called bucks? What does bucks come from? You know, that's something for us to research, I guess. Maybe I'll do it after the show finishes. I'm sure I've got better ways to spend my time. Let's talk about the Miami Heat. Josh Richardson's heel issue. He is actually just like, he's fully washed. He's fully washed, Josh. That's it. He's washed. So we don't worry about that. And then Jim Butler suspended. WFK, if you don't know what that means, it means who flippin' knows. I don't know. Jimmy Butler's suspension ends after the trade deadline. I don't think we get Jimmy Butler traded, honestly. I don't think the nonsense with this guy has been apparent for years. I think most people are starting to see more of it now. But if he doesn't get traded, I don't think the Heat will play him. I think they'll just say, go home, rest of the season. That's how I think it'll work. But I don't know. I don't know. And we know what happens without Butler. We've seen it. It's Jovic. Ware is starting. Jaquez is useless. Rozier's playing better. Robinson's streamable. That's sort of where we sit with it. Not with it. Who am I? A roadman, bruv. Milwaukee. There's a lot of guys out for them today. It's back-to-back rest stuff. Giannis out. Middleton out. Then Lopez and Lillard appeared as questionable. They're not real injuries. Don't worry about that. Bob Portis dealing with personal stuff. I believe he's still questionable for today's game, so maybe he's available there, but like his return, it doesn't appear that it's super far away, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. But the Porter stuff is, we know that the hassles in trying to deal with Bob. He's actually doubtful for today, so he's not going to play. And their next game is Wednesday against the Hornets, and maybe he catches up on the road trip, but he's getting to a stage where it becomes a lot easier to drop because he's not playing. In Minnesota, a couple of injuries after they've been pretty injury-free all season. Ant Edwards missed their last game with an illness. No indication that he's contracted any sort of norovirus and he's going to be out for years. But he missed that game. He's questionable Monday. They play a Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back at home. So I think he's okay there. And with him out, Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Rob Dillingham bump up a bit. Julius Randle, they haven't updated us on this. I've just initially ruled him out for at least a week with a groin strain. They called it soreness. They're lying, but they called it soreness. A groin is possibly a 3-week thing. But I at the moment, all I've done is put him out a week just so we're aware. Yeah, it's not day-to-day at this point. I don't think anyway. It would be it'd be pretty reckless of them, but it's NBA teams. To them to just play him a game later. But he's out at least on Monday. I don't think he plays this week, Randall. That means that Naz Reid starts, but Reid is also dealing with an injury now. They're listing Reid as questionable with a finger sprain, so I think he will play through it. And then you might get last game you got Joe Ingles and absolutely zero Josh Minott, which is unbelievable to me that would be what they do, but whatever. Luka Garza also getting those backup minutes, which makes him deep league viable. And then Dante DiVincenzo, we're still talking a couple of weeks away from him. Mike Conley in 30-plus minutes a night is a 12-team option. Nickeil Alexander-Walker in 30 minutes a night is close enough. Rob Dillingham needs about 24 a night and some weird blowout stuff to get him there, and that's not something you can rely upon. The New Orleans Pelicans, how could I tell you what the hell to make of Brandon Ingram? We just have heard nothing. I thought there was a chance 6th of January he'd return. We're sitting here, and it's the 4th of February to me, and we don't even get an update. No one knows a single thing about what's going on with this man's ankle. He is potentially, and I say this with no malice or negativity around him, just a pure statement of fact, he might be the slowest healer in the entire NBA. You've got Anthony Davis on the other side of things who, we know about the locker room and all that sort of stuff. He heals like that. Anthony Davis gets hurt, he's back in 5 minutes. All right, this man gets hurt, and it's the longest recoveries of all time. Not a personal judgment, just a statement of fact. So I don't know. Does he get traded? Does he play again this season? I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. And the return of Ingram would put a dampener on a Jordan Hawkins, who's ill at the moment. It may put a dampener on a Jose Alvarado as well. There's just so many directions this team can go, nearly all of them bad. Hawkins has missed the last game. Daniel Tice dealing with a thumb issue. He missed the last game, and that meant that our man Carlo Makovic played 18 minutes, which is interesting. I would like to see them just give Makovic minutes every night, but I don't know that they will. I'd like to see it. And then DeJounte Murray out for the season with a torn Achilles. I'm not including Herb Jones on this because I believe I put him out for the season 2 weeks ago. I don't think he's coming back. They've given us no update on it. But with a team where they are, with DeJounte now out for the season, I find it very hard to believe that Herb Jones is going to come back to play 2 games in April. It seems very unlikely, so I think the safest thing is just to assume that he's done. In New York, I would like a little bit more information on this one, please, New York, because OG Anunoby suffered what looked like a pretty serious foot sprain, and then they labelled him questionable. Okay, that's weird. Now, of course, they've just ruled him straight out of this game on Monday now as well, so he's obviously hurt something. Then the next game is at Toronto, a revenge game. Does he play? If this injury for OG costs him 4 weeks, and he's another guy that's had some healing timeframe issues in the past. Remember his elbow last year. And you may have seen this floating around Instagram or TikTok, this video of these New York guys trying to guess the most used 3-man lineups in the NBA, and the top 7 of them are all Knicks because Thibodeau's a maniac. Oh, but he didn't get hurt because he played too many minutes. Cool. OG being out, they're being very cautious about giving us any information on it. Achua's not bad to consider, but I'd rather hold my moves for the deadline. Mitchell Robinson, they're also being very coy on that injury. Tom Thibodeau said he's not far away from doing contact practice. To me, that suggests we're talking a few more weeks out, so maybe post-All-Star break. And when he comes back, remember, A, not that good. B, extraordinarily limited in what he's going to be able to do, I'm guessing, considering how long he's been out. So I wouldn't bother with him. The other one there is Pacome Dadier, the first-round pick, who's played about 2 to 3 minutes total all season. So yeah, we don't worry about that one too much, do we? Let's go to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Bronco, Jalen Williams, missed their last game with a wrist injury. He's out again for their next game, so a little bit of a concern there. That's the game on Monday against the Bucks. They play again on Wednesday, but no real indication on the severity of this. The Hong Kong mattress, Carson Wallace, he injured his shoulder last game. He's ruled out. Alex Caruso injured his ankle 2 games ago. He's ruled out. I actually think this will cost Caruso weeks, but there's been nothing official on that. Wallace, I'd be a bit worried about him being out for the week as well. And if you're considering a deadline move, trade deadline, looking to grab someone, and you've got Carson Wallace, drop him. I don't know if he's going to be healthy. He's a fringe guy anyway. If he's holding one of your spots, he is eminently, easily droppable. The next one is Chet Holmgren, who maybe we're looking at post-All-Star break. I've got there about the 24th of February, but I am a bit skeptical of that. I actually think it probably pushes into March, but I don't know. And then AJ Mitchell with his toe. Does he get some regular season games in? Maybe in April, but again, I think that little value period there was solid, but not going to last. With Williams Holmgren, let's forget Chet. With Williams, Wallace, and Caruso being out, well, Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins are going to have to do more. Now, we don't expect 41 points out of Aaron Wiggins again, but Joe could have 27 with 9 threes. Wiggins could play 28 minutes, and they're at least in consideration. But are they worth wasting a roster move on? Are they worth wasting an acquisition during this week? No, they're not. Save your moves. Let's talk about Orlando. Jalen Suggs, the saga continues of Suggsy and whatever it is, back, knee, quad. So he came back from the back issue, played 16 minutes, hurt his quad, then was questionable out, and now questionable to doubtful for Monday. So maybe he's back on Wednesday? I don't know. We're getting to the stage, though, where holding Suggs is an exercise in frustration. He's been great, but I imagine he's going to be limited. Then there's risk of more injuries. And we are in shallower formats getting to that stage where you just move on, I think, because as good as he can be, it can fluctuate a lot. In Philadelphia, we've got updates on these guys that are all positive, but not definitive. It looks like all of their guys who have been out are going to be back. Paul George, Caleb Martin, KJ Martin, Andre Drummond, Joel Embiid, and Eric Gordon, all questionable. I obviously still have a lot of skepticism about Embiid, and if he plays, how long does he last? My guess is about 2 weeks, but I don't know. Paul George's finger issue, returning. KJ Martin's been out forever. But all of this, like George, Martin, those guys coming back. Let's just throw Drummond and Embiid. Let's say they all come back. Well, Yabusele's been getting free run of everything. Not going to happen anymore. Hold, but maybe not long term. Justin Edwards, Ricky Council, they were providing some at least 14-team value. That's probably going to evaporate until other guys go out. We could have every Sixers guy available outside of Jared McCain. They could all just be back for the next game. So those little stream value options you had may not be there. In Phoenix, as things currently stand, nobody is injured. Bradley Beal's ego might be a little bit bruised, and then the rotations are busted up with O'Neal and Beal and Dunn and Allen sort of just backing in and out of holes and 11 or 30. Like, it's all impossible to know. We're holding Beal. The others we don't. We just consider them. In Portland, no fake injuries at the moment. It's just Rob Williams with the hand injury, which is just the Memorial Rob Williams injury placeholder position. He missed... Oh, so, you know what? I completely forgot to put Matisse Thybulle on this. My bad, Matisse, because you're so out of mind. You are injured, and maybe you come back ever. I don't know. What we've got from Matisse Thybulle this season is a great facial reaction on the bench when Luka Doncic got traded. That's all he's given us. I have no idea if he returns. I also know he probably won't be useful for fantasy. Rob Williams hasn't played 3 in a row. The only reason to have Rob is you're stashing on the absolute dice roll of a chance that he moves onto a different team, the Lakers, and plays 23 a night. But if he does, like, how many of those games does he play? We cannot have faith in his body at this point. But there is clear upside. He's just not going to play enough in Portland to matter. So the only reason you look at that is you're hoping for a trade, and that is a tough thing to pull off. Sacramento currently doesn't have any injuries. We are waiting for Zach LaVine to debut. He will not do that on Monday. Their next game is on Wednesday, and he will play in that one. And then Sidi Sissoko, which doesn't matter. He's not going to get minutes. Mike Brown could actually, given they lost some depth here, he could play the starters 40 minutes a night. Don't be shocked at that. Because, Herter was playing 6 a night, and McDermott get his 6 or whatever. They could... McLaughlin got 0, but they could just play the starters 40 a night here. And then if they cop an injury, then it's all hell breaks loose. So the reason if you want to hold Alice is you're waiting for an injury now because the trade did not open anything up. In Sacramento, we're waiting on the traded guy there, which is, of course, De'Aaron Fox. The only injury, though, at the moment is Victor Wembanyama. It's not a real injury. It's an illness. He missed the game on Saturday, and Goldfinger Charlie Bassey was the stream, and he would be the stream again. It won't be Mamukelashvili, I'm guessing, and it clearly won't be Zach Collins because he does not exist on this team anymore. The Toronto Raptors, a lot of guys there. Nothing that's super serious. 2 backup point guards, Jamal Shed and Davion Mitchell, both questionable. Shed with an illness, Mitchell with a foot issue. Shed had supplanted Mitchell as the backup when Quickly was healthy, and then Mitchell was the starter over Shed for some reason. Just keep an eye on those guys. There's nothing really to care about, though. And then Boucher and Brown, whose role had dropped. Brown is dealing with a nose issue and Boucher with an illness. Boucher went 18, 15, 0, 16, and Brown's gone 19, 17, 17 the last 3 games after his minutes had pushed up. But coincidentally, when Quickly came back, Brown's minutes dropped back down. A reverse trade showcase. I don't think we bother with Boucher. I don't think we bother with Bruce Brown. in Utah at the moment, there's only these injuries on the injury report. Now, I don't know. That'll be something that holds, but Cody Williams with an ankle. Maybe he's out the rest this week. It could be 3 more weeks. They're just not updating us on stuff. And at the moment, there's no John Collins hip issue. There's no Lauri Markkanen back issue. There's no Keontae George heel issue. There's no Jordan Clarkson foot issue today. Next game, no idea. At the moment, they are playing their guys. And I think that they might actually give this a run through to the break, and then it's all hell break loose. The All-Star break, I'll say this now. If you are here on the show, 35 minutes in, congratulations for being here, dropping a nugget, which most of you know already. When the trade deadline week, when the All-Star break week happens, teams have some time off and they sit down and they go, right, what are we doing for the next 6 weeks? That is what these teams do. So they go, okay, where are we? What are we doing? You'll hear it like 2 days before games restart. We have decided that from here on out, player X is not going to be in the rotation as we look to develop for the future. We have decided to move this man into the starting lineup. The Utah Jazz did it last season, I think, with Taylor Hendricks. Is at this time of year they went, all right, Hendricks is starting now. So just don't be shocked if it's like we've decided to get his health right for a big 25-26 season. Lauri Markkanen is resting his troublesome back. Just All-Star break is when shit goes weird. Jalen Hood-Schifino, who plays for this team, I don't know if he actually will or not. I don't know if the hamstring was real or if it was just the Lakers saying that he's out because they didn't want to play him a single second. There is a chance that there will be a game where I say, yeah, Jalen Hood-Schifino might be useful to stream. I don't want to get to that time, though. Lastly, we go to Washington. And Alex Sarr is going to miss his 3rd consecutive game with his ankle sprain. Jonas Valanciunas played like 18. Oh, he didn't. He played 23 minutes at the start, 18 minutes at the start, and then the game that was close, he played 30. That's very interesting. So if they keep it close, which they're against Charlotte, so maybe they do, maybe we get a big Valanciunas performance. I honestly don't think that Marvin Bagley's playing again this season, but I don't know. And then Jordan Poole, coincidentally, in the game against Charlotte, has popped up as questionable with an illness. Yeah, okay. Poole has been awesome this season. You know that. I was happy to swallow my pride from the mistake of Jordan Poole last season because I believe the process was correct and get back on and draft him this season, and it has worked out brilliantly. It could not have worked out better. So I love trusting that process. The worry we start to have now is garbage like this. But Poole has exceeded all expectations, very clearly. But now he might miss. Now, if he is out, Kuzma's going to take a million shots, but maybe you do go back to Carlton Carrington? He needs a lot to go right, Carrington, because I like him as a long-term prospect for sure. He's a rookie point guard who gets no usage and is bad at efficiency. They are terrible things for fantasy. And I wouldn't rush to add him if we do get any sort of pool shutdown, and definitely wouldn't add him as a one-game stream. But what that does mean is that we're at the end of the show. That is the injury update. I hope you've found your source of medjool dates and get ready to celebrate with me. Put your dates out. Again, that sounds very rude, and what you do in your own time is completely up to you. What you can do now, though, is thumb up this video. You can double bang and get ready for the trade deadline show, 1 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, February the 6th. Thursday, February the 6th. Guys, keep it positive. Keep it cool. Keep it trendy. Keep yourselves in a spot where you know that it's not all bad. You're not all bad. There is something good that's happened to you today. Find it. Focus on it. Double it the next day. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.